What is going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of the Double Switch podcast. Back-to-back episodes for the first time in our podcast short tenure here. We're back with Dan today to discuss some of the developments in the NL East and kind of what's been going on. Johnny, how are you doing today? I know the Phils lost a tough one in the ninth inning to the Reds. Sir Anthony ended up blowing it. Took 2 out of 3, so it's like nothing to really cry over, but yeah, how you feeling today?
They didn't show up to play really today. The Sir Anthony blown save kind of hurts me because I don't like seeing Sir Anthony do poorly ever. But he has been like dynamite all year. So I guess you got to blow one eventually, right?
It happens. Happens to the best of them. I mean, even Edwin Diaz has 3 saves or 3 blown saves. It's been a minute since he's blown one, but even the best blow it sometimes. So I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Yeah. And Dan, how you feeling about this past series with the Phils?
I'm feeling good. I was feeling good up until I would say Monday, and then obviously injuries. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, this past series, very low scoring series. What was it? 2-1, 1-0, and then 6-0 on Sunday when we kind of just eat through as a Brave says, lucky hits. I'm sure you guys know who we're talking about, but definitely very confident all the way through our rotation from starters to bullpen. Obviously, best closer in baseball. Very confident. Defense was very solid. Offense, getting those base hits opposite field. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing as a team right now.
Yeah, no, I think the Mets definitely showed us a lot this weekend. The Phils were hot too going into that. Earlier in the season, we had plenty of problems against the Mets that you guys no-hit us. You guys had that legendary comeback. In your opinion, do you think you saw a different Phils team this weekend compared to earlier in the year? Because, the Mets have been consistently great, but it seemed like we were a little more competitive. It was clear the better team start to finish, but I feel like we were a little more competitive this weekend. Would you agree with that, Dan?
100%. I mean, the last time we spoke, Alec Boehm was the center talk of our entire conversation, and for all the wrong reasons. Now he could be the center talk for all the right reasons. He is a total 180 degrees from what we saw, 2 months ago, last time we spoke. I was on here. He changed it around. He had that infamous game where he said he wanted to just, get him out of there. And between him and JT Real Muto was a little bit silent, but he still played pretty well. And then just all the way up and down your lineup impressed me. I mean, honestly, if the Braves weren't in our division, I'd still be a little bit scared because you guys do have everything coming together at the right time, and you still don't have Schwarber and Harper back 100% right now. And with those 2 giant pieces missing, you guys are still a very dangerous team.
Yeah, no, it was definitely encouraging to see them be a little more competitive this time around. And I think you're right. I think it does feel like things are kind of coming together for us at the right time. I think it would have really changed things if we had those big lefties in there, just because your rotation and your bullpen is loaded with righties and like really good ones at that. But yeah, no, we have a lot of guys that struggle against righties, so it'll be good to get those 2 bats back and be competitive, hopefully later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So let's roll through the season or the series real quick. Friday, I mean, pitcher's duel, Max Scherzer to I believe it was Edwin Diaz Ottavino got in there. Real good pitching duel. Same deal with Saturday. How'd you feel about how your offense those 2 days? Kind of went silent. We had some good pitchers on the hill. Is that something that you kind of have come to expect with the Mets? Because Johnny and I were talking about it yesterday. Pretty consistent lineup. What are your thoughts on the lineup kind of going silent those 2 days against Ranger Suarez and Aaron Nola?
I mean, two very solid pitchers. I don't want to say I'm panicking or I'm scared or anything like that, but I'm a little concerned at the fact that, it's very much like Mets teams of the past. You have a guy like Jacob deGrom, who has one of the lowest ERA, for instance, last year. Jacob deGrom has one of the lowest ERAs, if not the lowest ERA in the MLB, but he's barely over a 500 pitcher because he gets no run support. It's things like that where you're like, okay, well, he gives up 1, maybe 2 runs a game, but if his offense isn't scoring any runs, how is he supposed to win games? And that's where I feel like we've regressed a little bit. And I'm sure later on the episode we'll talk about our additions. We brought up Brett Beatty, and then Francisco Alvarez is teetering that line of coming up to the major leagues. But run support wise and offensively, I'm a little concerned. We obviously the talk of our entire offense is Pete Alonso. Everything kind of revolves around him. It seems like every time Starling Marte gets up, there's a man on first and he grounds into a double play. Francisco Lindor gets a little slap hit to the opposite field every now and again, but it's still not enough for us to produce runs and be a competitive offensive team.
Yeah, I say that specifically because, in my biased opinion, I feel like the pitchers you saw this weekend are the closest you're going to come to like a playoff staff. Because when you get to those playoffs, you're facing the best of the best. I mean, the Dodgers have tons of arms. Braves have some top tier arms as well. And I just thought it was interesting how, the Mets kind of took a different stance towards, not a different stance, but, they kind of went into a pitching first team instead of, the big time offense that we've come to see this year. It kind of just shows, the range that this Mets team has. They can win a bunch of different ways. Johnny and I talked about it. They can beat you with their pitching, beat you with their offense. And I think it results in a team that's really well positioned for the playoffs just because they can win in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I think me and Josh talked about it earlier this week, but I know that the Mets get a little bit criticized. I'm sure you've heard it. A lot of weak contact. People like to call it luck, but what it really is them playing, like, not doing too much and doing what they can with what's given to them, and they don't try to do too much. And I really noticed that, and like I honestly I was a little jealous watching like some of that offense. Like for us, it's like it's boom or bust sometimes. Like it's like the bats are really like the power bats are really like locked in, or it's nothing. Like we saw zeros. We don't want goose eggs, but you guys don't lay a lot of like goose eggs like that. You're pretty consistent for 3 or 4 runs, which I thought was pretty impressive. Doesn't matter who you go up against.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, those lucky hits, and then we're not trying to swing for the fences anymore. I mean, we got one solid power hitter in our lineup, and that's Pete Alonso. Everybody else, you're expected to go up there and put the ball in play. It doesn't matter how far you hit it, where you hit it, you're expected to put the ball in play. And I think that's the culture that Buck Showalter brings to the Mets right now is everybody has a job, do your job, and we win games. I mean, we were rolling through this first half of the season, up until the All-Star break. Obviously, I don't know if you guys pay attention to MLB's Instagram. I mean, they have the Dodgers and then the Yankees and then the Mets. And it didn't change like that for like 6 weeks. Now it might shift a little bit. We're going down a couple people, but yeah, everybody has a job on that team. And so far to this point, everybody has been executing their job to the best that they possibly can. And that's all you can really ask for as a fan is just guys going out there, doing what is expected of them, and sometimes a little bit more. And that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, so we had this weekend. You guys took 2 out of 3. Your absolute dominance against the NL East is, it's officially a story now. I believe it's 16 straight series against NL East opponents. That's including the Braves, who you guys are facing now. And you guys kind of run into some issues with the Braves. These past 2 nights specifically, not too much offense and some pitching injuries, specifically to Carrasco, Walker. What's the deal with that? How are you guys going to fill those holes if those 2 end up missing substantial time? And is your depth being tested here a little bit?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely our AAA is being tested as well. Like these guys that are, borderline ready to be called up the bigs, are they really ready or not? And we'll see. I mean, David Peterson's a guy who's coming up. I think he's starting Sunday or Saturday against you guys. And he's a lefty. He's got some junk. I think he had like 16 innings pitched or 18 innings pitched last year in the majors. Pretty good, pretty solid. Carrasco is the one that they are concerned about. He's out 3 to 4 weeks with some sort of oblique injury. Walker just only had back spasms, so they have him penciled in for this weekend to start. But definitely Carrasco. But Carrasco, to be honest with you, I was watching that game. He didn't look 100% from the start. He's usually locating his pitch and he's got good break, and everything he threw was kind of flat. But going back to your original question about depth and am I concerned? Yes and no, because 1 and 2 and then 3 as well are, you got Scherzer, DeGrom, and Bassett. 3 very, very solid starters. And then you can't really just fall off a cliff after that, though. You need 2, maybe 3 solid guys after that can pick up that last end of the rotation. And right now, I hate to say it, we don't really have that. So I am a little concerned going into this week, and then obviously this weekend as well, seeing what David Peterson can do coming out of AAA. Let's see how well Taiwan does after these back spasms. I wouldn't say he goes more than 4 innings, to be honest with you. Even if he's averaging under 12 pitches an inning, I don't think he goes more than 4 innings.
Yeah. So what's your take on the 2 games that you've seen? Do you think this is just the Braves kind of, being a very good team, kind of what we expected out of the Braves? Or do you think that, the trends of the past week with the offense is something that, you should kind of start to worry about, because it is kind of stretching into another week here with the Braves. It's kind of starting to become a trend, and it looks like the Braves really kind of showed up this week. You worried at all about that?
Yes and no. Sorry, I keep giving you guys 2-headed answers, but yes, because they're in our division. We're competing against them day in, day out, regardless if we're playing them or not. If we're playing the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Miami Marlins, we're still competing against the Braves because they still play the same days as we do. And if they're winning and we lose, that's not good. But I'm not too concerned, though, because, I hate to use injuries as a crutch, but it happens, and there's nothing you can really do. When you have Darren Ruff out there throwing 2 innings, you're not going to win that game. You're down 12-1, 13-1. You're just not going to win that game. So, I mean, injury-wise is what doesn't concern me that the Braves are beating us, 2 nights in a row. It's 2 games. We still have tonight and tomorrow to play these guys and kind of recollect, at the very least, win a game. I'd be happy with that. I just don't right now. I don't want to get swept. So I am a little concerned, but it's more so on the injury side rather than the performance side.
Yeah. So the reason I say that, Braves winners of 8 straight. You guys are 3.5 up. Are you concerned at all about your chances in this division, or do you think it's kind of, you guys have enough to get to the finish line? Because that Braves team, they're pretty pesky. And ever since, I want to say, mid-May, they've been one of the best teams in baseball. And, they do have the depth and the talent to take this division. Do you think the Mets are, should feel comfortable with where they're at, 3.5 games up with 6 weeks to go?
Never should feel comfortable with only a 3.5 game lead in your division. Definitely some work to be done. Absolutely, without a doubt. I go back to the trade deadline. I really think that our catching spot is one of the weaker parts, if not the weakest part of our entire lineup. Trading for Wilson Contreras or signing Wilson Contreras might have been the move we needed to get done and have that extra, good contact power bat in our lineup. But, I mean, yeah, you just can't get complacent because you're in first place. And the lead has gotten smaller and then a little bit larger and then smaller again. And it's like this accordion effect that every time we feel like we're getting farther away, it comes right back in and, they're 1.5 or a half game behind us.
I can tell Johnny's getting ready to say something over there. So I kind of took that over. I'll let him chime in.
Well, I'm personally concerned of the way, the structure of how the Braves are built. earlier in the year, you would have thought they are a big bat team, high-powered offense, but a little bit young at pitching, a little bit not that deep, a little bit vulnerable at that spot. Not a top-notch bullpen, you would have said in the beginning of the year. But now the way things are going, they're scoring runs at a crazy rate, like I expected them to. But I did not expect their starting pitching to take this like jump that it has. They have a really nice. They have a trio of young dudes in Spencer Strider, Max Fried, and Kyle Wright, who are all growing as pitchers and have gotten really good. And then you have Charlie Morton, a guy that's been in the playoffs before. So I'm a little bit nervous about how this team is built. I don't think either the Mets or the Phillies match up that well against the Braves come playoff time.
Yeah, the Braves are second in the league in runs scored, high-powered offense, and it's interesting to see three teams like this, kind of competitive. To a lesser extent, the Phils, our chance for the division is kind of sailed with this past weekend, but it's very interesting to see these three teams kind of battle it out as the season goes on. And not to completely pivot this, you brought up Wilson Contreras, Stan. I thought for sure he was going to be a Met. There were a lot of names I thought would for sure become a Met. Darren Ruff was not one of them, and neither was Dan Vogelbach. I wasn't expecting those two. I was expecting some big moves out of the Mets just based off of what they've done and how they're always aggressive when it comes to that. What really went down this trade deadline? Because Contreras made perfect sense. Are you happy with how this deadline unfolded for the Mets?
Yeah. Now looking at it, yes. But when it first happened, absolutely not. I was like, Daniel Vogelbach is like 275 pounds. There's no way he runs to second base without having a stroke. Darren Ruff was good 2 years ago. And then I don't even know the last guy who we got. I totally forget his name. But oh my gosh, left fielder. Anyways, I was very confused. I was like, we got Steve Cohen. He's in the front office. He is not afraid to spend money. People say he is the modern day Steinbrenner, and I agree with that because he's got Scherzer, DeGrom, he's got Carrasco, Bassett, Canna. All these guys that are asking for a lot of money, and then at the trade deadline, you kind of stalemate. It's like, well, what's going on here? I understand that James Buchanan is he's evolving. He is kind of coming into the role as your everyday catcher, but his offensive production is just not nearly where you need it to be. And then, especially going back 2 months before the trade deadline, you send our designated DH when Pete Alonso doesn't want a DH, which is Dominic Smith. You send him down to AAA because he's hitting 125 over the last month. What are we doing here? We need offensive production. So I was a little confused at that, but then it happened, and Vogelbach stepped into his role. He's been absolutely electric, hitting almost 300. He's got, I think, almost 4 or 5 home runs right now as a Met. Like, he's been electric, and the energy he brings to not only the team but the fans is it's amazing to me because we haven't had a big guy like that since Bartolo Colon. And it's always nice to have that, especially when he can produce offensively.
Yeah, I saw him hit his home run this weekend against Wheeler. And, he's a name I haven't really thought about, but he's provided a bit of a punch.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the lack of trades had anything to do with, your front office wanting to kind of keep your prospect package together after last year? Giving up a very good prospect, Pete Crow Armstrong for Javi Baez, ended up, not working out for the Mets. Do you think they might be taking that philosophy in terms of, trying to keep that system together for the time being?
100%. I mean, you got Brett Beatty, who's getting called up tonight. He's just about to start his first game in the MLB. And then you got Francisco Alvarez, who's right behind him, who is a giant piece in the giant chess game we're playing right now. So you call him up and he becomes an absolute stud. That's a large trading piece you have right there in a catcher. Catchers, they're not hard to come by, but good catchers like that can produce offensively and are great as a defensive catcher, that's kind of hard to come by nowadays. And if he really does pan out to be that catcher that they think he's going to be, that's a large trading object right there that you have. So yeah, to hold on to our younger guys in Double and Triple A is definitely, I think, the route they wanted to go with this and kind of preserve for the future. Because, I mean, I would like for DeGrom to stay a Met for another couple years. I would like obviously Lindor is going to be a Met for another couple years. Alonso is probably going to be around for a few more years. You build a team around those 3, 4 guys right there of young guys learning from some of the most experienced and like highest level playing athletes there are in this game. You know, those guys go on and they're worth a whole lot more than they are right now, obviously. And so yeah, I think that was the plan. I don't know because I was very confused at the trade deadline myself as to why we weren't pushing more and offering more options. But you know, sitting back now, it's definitely something that that's definitely an idea they had in their mind was like, all right, let's pump the brakes here. We made enough moves in this past off season. We don't need to make crazy changes right now.
Yeah, I actually wondered if maybe the reason the Wilson Contreras trade never happened was maybe you think they wanted Francisco Alvarez?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but also the thing is, if they wanted him to catch, it's like, why not call him up sooner? You know, and I don't know what the coaches' minds are where they're at right now with him in AAA. But yeah, it might be that. It might be like, let's give him the rest of the season and he'll start spring training as a New York Met. And then if spring training goes great, they'll call him up. So yeah, I think that had to do with it. It's obviously, you know, you have one of the top catchers in the league right now, and then you have the number one catching prospect. So like, why would you double dip there? Is a little bit iffy.
Yeah, it's a lot of talent at catcher, especially if you're going for a guy like Wilson Contreras.
Exactly.
Real quick, was there a moment where you thought that Juan Soto would be wearing a Mets jersey, or did you never buy into that?
I bought into it for about 3 days, and then I heard some of the other offers that he got, and I was like, "There's no way," because I knew they wanted. I think the trade was straight up Soto for Beatty, Alvarez, our first and our seventh, and I was
Yeah,
like, "There's no way.
that's a
If we
ton.
take that, we're throwing away our entire future."
Yeah, I never bought into that, but I was just curious on your take. Johnny, I think we should take a step back here and kind of start to talk about the playoff picture because, there's a very good chance that both these teams are there. Definitely the Mets, I mean, I'm looking at it now, 99.9. They're going to the playoffs. It's most likely going to be as a 2 seed. Um, yeah, it's going to be the 2 seed unless they can catch the Dodgers. Dodgers 5 games up right now. Dan, you guys are going to have that first round bye, and then there's probably 4 or 5 teams that you could possibly face. You have the Padres, Cardinals, Phillies, Braves, or the Brewers. Out of those teams, you don't have to go too deep into this. Who do you want to face in that first round, and who are the teams that you really don't want to match up against?
I'll start with the teams we definitely don't want to match up against because they just have so much depth. Brewers, for sure. I know a lot of people might think that's a little bit of a hot take. Brewers, I don't want to match up against. Corbin Burns, and then offensively, you just have so many different weapons. I don't necessarily, right now, currently, I don't want to match up against the Braves. I just don't like the way we're playing them. I think we're getting a little complacent in the NL East, and we think we can just kind of coast through all these teams. Obviously, playoff baseball is a whole lot different ballgame. Those are definitely the 2 teams right now I wouldn't want to play. Um, Definitely would love to play the Cardinals again. I don't know if you guys saw that last inning comeback that we had against them. I think we're down 4 or 5. Dom Smith hit that crazy, like weird base hit down the first base line, scored one, and he was somehow safe on a slide into first. Definitely would want to play them again. We played them really well at the beginning of this season. And just for devil's advocate, I'd love to see the Phillies.
Nice.
That'd be a fun series, especially since the teams are so close together.
Yeah.
I was there this weekend, and I'm not going to say that the stands were filled with red, but a lot of Phillies fans would make that trek up there for that game. Johnny, I'm gonna throw this one at you. The Phillies, there's a couple different possibilities. We're looking at one of the 3 wild cards now. It's looking like, if we get the first or the second, we're going to face the Mets. If we move on, we'd have to go through the Braves first. And if we get the third wild card, we're going to have to face, the NL Central winner and then face the Dodgers. What seed would you prefer if, in a perfect world, you got to pick?
I'm definitely on the wave of the 3rd seed. I mean, I don't want us to lose games to drop down a seed. Don't get me wrong, but I would love to see whoever ends up winning the NL Central, the Cardinals or the Brewers. We've had great success against them this year. We took care of the Cardinals pretty easily, actually, and I think we match up really well. I don't think they have any super elite arms like some of the other contenders right now. Along with the Brewers, I know they have the Corbin Burns and Woodruff. We faced Corbin Burns and we did pretty well against him, so I don't think that's the end of the world. I think we can out-hit that team in what is it, a best-of-3 series?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would prefer to go NL Central and then the Dodgers, who we also surprisingly played pretty well earlier this year. I know that they're the Dodgers, and we might have just caught them on a cold streak, but I'm down to take down the evil empire.
Yeah, so now they're the Walker Bueller-less Dodgers. That's big. He's their
What happened to him?
Season-ending elbow surgery.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a big loss for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Following up on that question, who don't you want to face?
I really, first round, I would prefer not to face the Mets or the Braves.
Yeah, well, the Mets are going to have the bye, so you'd have to probably go through the Braves to get to the Mets, and it's wild that it could work out where we end up facing the NL East throughout all the playoffs. But
yeah, the Braves and the Mets are definitely the 2 contenders I'm most worried about, and the Padres and the Brewers are probably the teams I'd like to face the most in the playoffs.
No, I tend to agree with you. Yeah, that Braves team's scary, and I don't want to sound too much like a Mets fan, but I haven't seen a team that well designed for a playoff series in a long time. I don't know if that was their goal when they designed that team, but there's a decent chance in a 7-game series someone would have to beat, Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom, beat them each once, and it's a tall task. If you manage to do that, you have to go through Edwin Diaz at the end of the bullpen, and that's a tough matchup. I try to avoid them any way I could. Johnny, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely would like to avoid them as long as we can, but I mean, you don't always get to choose, and right now it's looking very likely that we could play the Mets.
Yeah, fully loaded, Dan. How do you think we stack up? With obviously Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber back. You can be biased, say you're going to win the series, but how do you see that series going?
In a best of 5?
I think the NL
DS?
Best of 7.
Best of 7. Sure I would like to say we sweep, but I don't see that. I say we win. I think everybody healthy, fully stacked lineup like we had on day 1. I'd say we win in 6. You guys are a tough team offensively, and you guys do have a couple great starting pitchers. Your bullpen was a little bit concerning over this past weekend. I'm not gonna lie. Just kind of leaving pitches high. But yeah, I mean, I think you'd catch us in a couple games, honestly. Whether we're in the field or we're at bat, I think that I'm starting to see a pattern more of us going silent at the plate, and I don't like that. We're not as aggressive. We're pretty much taking up till 2 strikes, and I don't like that. I mean, I'm sure you guys have as well, but I played baseball all throughout high school. I always hated when coach would tell me to take until the 2nd strike. It's like, why in the world am I doing that? And then you got guys out here that are getting paid tens of millions of dollars a year, and you're telling them to take the first 2 strikes. It's like, why is that? So I don't know if it's a coaching issue or just a mental block that some of our players might have. But I would say 6 games, we win the series if we match up in the NLCS right now.
I fact checked myself, and it would be a best of 5 series in the NLDS.
Okay, so 4 games we win.
Johnny, would you agree with that?
I'll let you go first.
I'm good. I'm throwing this back to you.
Well, I'm a Titans fan, man, and I think we take you guys in Game 5. I think we are building up momentum slowly throughout this season, and the optimist in me believes that the Phillies will be a beautiful team come October, and we will beat the Mets in 5. Because I think that I truly believe that we can beat Max Scherzer. We've seen him so much.
Okay. Yeah. So I hear you. I do. And I'm the biggest Phillies fan at all, but we're potentially looking at a Game 5. Possibly DeGrom against Wheeler at Citi Field. We just saw Wheeler go to Citi Field and have all kinds of issues, and we just saw DeGrom pitch in Citi Field and completely shut us down for 6 innings. What leads you to believe? Let's hear it, Dan.
He also set the record for his attendance at Citi Field with 40,500 and something people. Just to let you know. Anyways,
yes. On top of that, it would be a sold-out field at Citi Field. What makes you believe that it doesn't go the way that just about everybody who hears that thinks it would go? DeGrom shutting us down like he shuts just about everybody else down, and Wheeler struggling like he did last time.
The upside in our offense, I think the upside our offense has is a higher upside than the Mets have, and a higher upside than the Braves have, and most of the teams in the National League. I think now that Tatis is kind of a bum.
I guess we'll leave that at that.
No comment.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. It's a really cool situation, and the Mets and the Phillies haven't been good at the same time since 2007. 2007. That year ended up going the Phillies' way. This year, we'll see. It's going to be good going down the stretch, and who knows? Maybe we'll see you guys in NLDS. Dan, serious question here. Do you think that the Phils have good fundamentals?
100%.
So you would.
I grew up. Obviously, I'm, a little bit younger than you, but not by much. But I remember the Roy Halladay days. I remember the Jimmy Rollins, the Flying Hawaiian, like all those guys. I remember that, and from that day on, regardless of how bad the Phillies were or how good they were, they have great fundamentals. They have the fundamentals of a solid baseball team. Every year they come out and I say, this team is going to go 500. I'm not overshooting it. I'm not undershooting it, but they're a very solid middle of the pack team. And I think this year they've made some improvements. Obviously you have guys like Schwarber, Harper, Real Muto, Bohm has turned it around. Those guys, those 4 guys right there can turn your whole team around. So, yes, I think you guys have great fundamentals, and I'd go even a step above that, saying you have the star power to be that wild card team that makes maybe a little bit of a run until you meet the Mets. But, anyways.
I just wanted to get a Mets fan's take on Keith Hernandez's comments. I wanted to know if all of Mets Nation believed in that.
Not going to speak on Keith Hernandez right now. I would not disrespect the mustache like that.
What are you trying to copy him?
No. So military, you can only grow a mustache. You're growing a mustache.
Oh, I did not know that.
It's like the Yankees, right?
Yeah, the Yankees won't even let you have a mustache.
As the Yankees. The Yankees, you cannot grow anything.
Yeah, the Yankees are more strict than the U.S. military.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Yeah. You heard it here first, folks.
One question for each of you, and then I'll see if Johnny has anything else. I'll start with you, Dan. What needs to happen this season for you to consider this Mets season start to finish a success? What would be considered a success to you?
I'm not even going to shoot it. Everybody's going to be like, "Oh my God, you're crazy." I wouldn't even shoot as high as saying getting to the World Series. I'd say getting through the first round of playoffs. That's the ultimate test for us. We haven't been there since 2013, 2012, with Matt Harvey and all those guys when we played the Royals. Or no, when we beat the Cubs and then played the Royals, obviously. But making it through the first round of the playoffs. We haven't been put to a test like that in almost a decade now. So doing something like that and really proving that we can go deep into October like that, I'd be fine with that. I don't, this year I'm not shooting for a ring. I'm not shooting for a pennant. I just want to see this team go as far as they can and play great baseball.
Johnny.
Yeah, my bar is also not as high as you would think the way I am, but my expectation, what I want is for the Phillies just to clinch a wild card spot, kill that playoff drought that's been on our back for a while, kind of dragging us down. Because I know that the Phillies are building a good team for the next 4 years. We have some very, very highly touted pitching prospects that could be up by next year in 2023 and 2024. So I think it's just important this year for us to make our mark and make it to the playoffs. And then we have a lot of these guys on contracts for the next 4 or 5 years. So our timetable to win is the next 5 years. So it'd be a good start to get in the playoffs this year.
Awesome. 4-game set against the Mets this week, and I believe that's it for this series. We finish up pretty early. I feel like usually there's always a September series with the Mets. Final predictions, Johnny. How do you think this weekend goes?
I'm seeing a 2-2 split. I think we get a little bit more favorable of a situation. We get to miss DeGrom and Scherzer. I think a 2-2 split feels about right.
Yeah, it's big that we have the doubleheader. I feel like teams always end up splitting those. I don't know why, but they always split those. Dan, are you kind of expecting the same, or do you think you guys can take this series?
I think we take this series. I'd say the doubleheader is really where we can shine. I think we've won every doubleheader we played this year, back to back, like both games.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah, I think we've only lost one, and we played the most doubleheaders in the MLB so far this year. So I think we go 3-1, depending on offensive production or however Taiwan's feeling on Sunday, might go 2-2, but 2-2, 3-1. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit biased as a Mets fan, but if we have the offensive production that I think we have, and Brett Beatty steps up the plate, Daniel Vogelback just does Vogelback things again, I don't see why we don't take the series 3-1.
I think we're gonna. I think with Peterson and Walker in there, I think we're gonna see more of your bullpen than we saw before. We'll see some of the middle inning guys who middle inning guys they never scare you as much as the Edwin Diaz's and the setup men of the league. Who is your setup man?
I would say right now it's Joely Rodriguez, who
it's not
terrible.
Is Ottavino still there?
Ottavino is still there. He's number 2. I mean, personally, I would put in Joely before I put in Ottavino. I just don't think Ottavino has great control over his off speed, and he just loves leaving it right over the middle of the plate. But I don't know. Buck Showalter could think totally different from me. So that's why he's getting paid what he's getting paid.
That is true. Johnny, you have anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
We covered it.
Yeah. No, it's a shame that you guys aren't going to be able to see us fully loaded with Bryce Harper back. I always look forward to these series. They're always exciting. It's really exciting when they're both good. But yeah, let me take this moment to announce that we here at the Double Switch Podcast, as well as all of Pick Swap Media, are excited to announce our partnership with the SportDisplays.com. Sport Displays are the creators of their unique product, the Jersey Mount, which can be installed to any surface and is significantly cheaper than the hundreds of dollars it usually costs for this type of quality display. Check out the link in the bio for the promo code PickSwap and get 10% off and free shipping when you guys order. Dan, it's been real. If we happen to see you guys in the playoffs, we will be sure to get you back on. That would be a
Absolutely.
really, really fun episode. And if not, I mean, probably the off season. Get a chance to
Yeah.
talk to you, talk about what the Mets are doing to retool for next year. And as always, been a pleasure.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate
Thanks for
everything.
coming on, Dan.
Absolutely. Wish you guys nothing but the best. Go Mets.